trustee. I'll have you have this in a jiff.
No, do not call out to your father to save you. He is the one who tied you up and buried your dreams in this tomb. He commands these creatures of the dark. Fear, self-loathing, stinking thinking, and dilly-dallying. Free yourself and destroy this temple of failure.
The Doctor is Sin is the second episode of Season 3. It first aired on June 8th, 2008, and was written by Jackson Publick. In the first half of the episode, the Venture family and the Orpheus family work together to appear relevant to General Manhowers as he tours the compound to check out the latest Venture innovations. In the second half of the episode, Dr. Killinger shows up to help steer Dr. Venture toward a better life. This episode was originally supposed to be part of the season premiere. Jackson talks a bit more about that in the Art of the Venture Brothers book. The premiere is the Monarch and Dr. Girlfriend's story more than anybody else's. So this is basically the premiere of the Venture family's season. That's one of the reasons why there's a tour of the compound at the beginning, re-establishing Dr. Venture as a down-and-out scientist trying to get clients, who's kind of broke and looked down upon by the military-industrial complex, and who's got this family. It was also an opportunity to show off the compound after we redesigned a lot of the spaces, so we put in a lot of locations. There are hallways we've never seen before, a conference room we've never seen before. We enhanced the lab and the hangar and everything else. In the very beginning of the episode, there's a billboard advertising the J-Pod. The silhouette with JJ listening to the J-Pod is meant to resemble the advertising campaign for the iPod back in 2003. Early in the episode, we meet Rajni, who is meant to be the analog character for Haji, the Indian child sidekick in the original Johnny Quest cartoon. As he leaves the compound, General Manhowers thanks Dr. Venture for the Fruitopia and says he can't remember the last time he had one. Fruitopia was discontinued in 2003, about 5 years before this episode aired. I believe this isn't just a random non sequitur, but a hint at how far behind the times everything on the compound is. Doc says,
"Well, you've got enough of it to print a Kiss comic book with."
I'd heard of this, but always thought it was an urban legend. However, it's totally true. Back in 1977, each of the members of Kiss added a vial of their blood to the red dye that would be used to print a special Kiss comic book that Marvel put out. There's a quick Star Wars reference when Dr. Venture asks Killinger about his magic murder bag.
What's in it?
Only what you take with you.
What's in there?
Only what you take with you.
There's not a ton of callbacks to previous episodes in this episode, but one small thing is that when Dr. Killinger evicts Dr. Orpheus, he tells him,
The company is going back into arachnid research. Your quarters have been rezoned.
And back in Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Magic, it was established that Dr. Orpheus is renting the old advanced arachnid lab.
All right, Dean, he's not a vampire, he's a doctor, and he's renting out the old advanced arachnid research lab from me, so don't scare him away with your nonsense. We need the money.
And one small inconsistency, when General Manhowers last appeared in Guess Who's Coming to State Dinner, his uniform appeared to be blue, implying he's in the Air Force, while in this episode his uniform is green, implying he's in the Army. This episode is a big one for yours truly. This is the episode that made me fall in love with the Venture Brothers. I know you're thinking, it took you this long? Yeah, it did. I really liked the Venture Brothers from the start, but for me to really love something, I've got to connect with it on an emotional level. And prior to this episode, that part just wasn't there for me. Here comes some personal stuff. Click away now if you do not give a shit about me or my personal life. A few months before this episode aired, I was 21 years old and I was dating one of my college professors. She was 34. Sounds cool on the surface, but we broke up after a couple months, and she didn't just nicely cut me loose. She completely tore me open and exposed a bunch of personal truths to me that I didn't realize as a dumb 21-year-old and that she was all too aware of as an adult 34-year-old woman. And I had this total identity crisis that lasted a couple years where I wondered, who am I? And
Am I a bad person?
And this episode just happens to come along like 2 months into this whole identity crisis, and bang! Emotional connection to the Venture Brothers achieved. The Doctor is Sin is the episode that made me realize that I love the Venture Brothers. As always, thank you for watching, and go Team Venture. Tune in next week for Home is Where the Hate Is. If you dug this video, share it with a friend. And if there was some huge glaring thing that I missed in this video, follow me on Instagram at Ventureverse Guide to see these videos a week early and offer your input before I upload the final product.